Today, I'd like to walk you through a hot lap in the 918 Spyder, which is the car that we're going to be using for the Audrain Automobile Museum Lap Time Challenge. We've partnered up with Audrain to upgrade all of their sim racing equipment inside of the museum, and you'll find that there's some really pro-grade stuff there now if you haven't been there for a while. We upgraded the steering wheel, the pedals, the wheel motor itself as well. We also have a new shifter that'll be coming along later in the year. With that said, what I'm going to do is walk you through a full lap. So we're going to go step by step, corner by corner, to explain your braking points, your turn-in points, your acceleration points, and some things to consider as you go through them. And then at the end of it, I'll play the entire hot lap. The final lap time on this hot lap was a 148.188, so 148.2 effectively. I think it's pretty quick. It's possible that you could get into the 47s, maybe the high 47s. So I would say like the fastest lap time I think that we're going to see is going to be somewhere in the high 47s, maybe the 48s. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll find out together. A few things that you should keep in mind about the car. One, it has a battery assist. So it's a hybrid car and you can increase and decrease the amount of battery power that you apply. We'll have a button on the wheel that you can use to increase the deployment or decrease the deployment. When you're on your out lap, so you've left the pits, you're driving all the way around the track to go and start your hot lap, your actual timed lap, make sure that's off. Set it to no deployment, and then that way you know that you're using as little battery as possible. You want to turn it on as you're coming out of parabolica. So as you start to accelerate out of parabolica is when you want to turn it on. In our hot lap, by the time we got the speed, the time that we wanted, we'd actually gone all the way through the battery. So I do think that there is a bit of extra time that can be caught because the battery adds quite a bit of speed, but just something to note. The next thing that I want to mention is that the car is pretty heavy, and you can feel that, especially if you're used to driving like a GT3 car in Assetto Corsa. If you drive a GT3 car around Monza, the braking points are much earlier, 50 meters at least, on the Porsche than they are with GT3 cars. However, the Porsche is very fast on the straights, much faster than the GT3 cars, which is where it makes up the speed. So the lap times are actually pretty comparable. The lap time in the Porsche was very similar to a lap time in like the Assetto Corsa stock BMW Z4 GT3, for example. Okay. The other thing that you should keep in mind is that when you're going into a corner, I'd really suggest that you try driving the car without ABS. It will be pretty painful at first as you learn where the tires start to lock up, and you can apply less brake pressure the next time around. But if you focus on that, you will go faster. The ABS on the car is a little bit slow, and you can really see the difference in the lap times between having ABS on and having ABS off. Sort of similar with traction control. The car actually has pretty good traction, and like the rear traction of the car is pretty good on acceleration. One of the places where the car really struggles with traction, however, is in braking. So it does lock up pretty easily. So the ABS kicks in pretty early, which is why you want to try to ride the line without using any ABS. But the other thing is that because the car is quite heavy, as it leans forward, you tend to oversteer very easily. So if you find that you're oversteering fast, very quickly going into a corner, it means that you're going too quickly into that corner. You need to start braking earlier. But we're going to go through all the braking points and all the steering points, all the acceleration points. I'll give you visual references as we go through the whole thing. So let's take a look at the hot lap. One thing I do want to point out, you're going to notice that the decorations around the track, the banners, and some of the number boards are different. This is a slightly different variation of the track from, I think, 2004. So just the banners are a little bit different, which is too bad, but I didn't realize that when I originally recorded it. So what we'll do is we'll go through and I will show you every single step. And we're going to start, like I said, with this exit. We're going to brake right around 150 meters at the last turn. And I'm going to go in slow motion here. Right around 150, you'll see the brake come on. Now, the next thing that you're going to see is that the brake comes off pretty quickly, but we've still got a little bit here, and this is called trail braking. We're going to trail brake into the corner. We have just a touch of brake on. And we're not going to accelerate for quite a while because the car is going to start to slide just a tiny, tiny bit. So as the car, you can see the car's floating already. Bit of understeer, very little throttle, and we're going to ease the throttle on very slowly, really, really slow. All right, now we're going full speed. So this is pedal to the floor all the way down to the end. And when we get to turn 1, we are going to brake into turn 1 at about 200 meters. Now, in your version of the track, there is a 200 meter board. In this one, there's not. However, there is a road which exists in both versions of the track, and I'm going to show you where that is just so that you can have that reference point. So as we come up here, it's right where I've paused. There's a road right here on the left. And we're going to back up just a tiny bit. So you'll pass the DRS sign. And you're going to see the brake do a big spike to 100% and then very quickly come off and slowly pull itself back. So it's right there on the left, brake just after. You see the brake's 100%. Now we're really dropping the brake back, easing into it, feeling that the tire's starting to slip. And then a tiny bit of brake going into the corner. Again, we're taking as much curb as possible. Don't hit the sausage curbs. Those red sausage curbs are super bad news. Don't do that. And then look how slow we are on the throttle coming out, okay? Now, coming out of turn 2, the next thing that I want to point out is that as you turn into this, and look, we're turning in just around these signs. I think these signs, similar signs at least, exist on the other version, but you can also use this as a reference point here, this orange banner, or orange paint on the sidewall. Already starting to turn in because the car is going to float. And what I mean by that is you'll feel understeer on the car. And then as the car starts to understeer, you're going to want to try to correct it. And you're going to try to correct it by possibly hitting the brake. When you do that, it's going to put all the weight to the front of the car, and the rear is going to start to slide, and the whole car will feel like it's just floating everywhere. And it's kind of uncontrollable. The solution to this is to not hit the brake in this corner. So instead, what we're going to do, and you'll see that I have a small lift and then a slightly bigger one as I make an adjustment. We're going to lift off the throttle but not hit the brake. So here we are coming into it. We're turning into the corner. You can see where the wheel's pointing, right? The car's already understeering, and here I come off the throttle and then slowly back onto it. And now you can be full throttle out of here. If you go full throttle through this corner, odds are you're not going to make it. So you do have to lift at some point. You can play with exactly where you need to lift in order to be as fast as possible. The next step here is braking into turn 3. That turn is not considered an actual turn on the track. And we're going to do turn 3 right around 150 meters. So there's 200, then we have the banner, and we're going to brake somewhere-ish in between, maybe 175, maybe not 150. And you take lots of curb through here. So you can see all the curb that we're taking in the car, curb on the exit. And I'm going to go back and show you a different angle of this because I think it will be helpful. So here, when we come through, look at all the curb. All that curb. That's perfect. And on this one, you can even take a little bit more. What you don't want to do is hit that sausage curb again. That's the big raised red curb. So on the inside, don't hit that sausage curb. Or that one's okay, but this long one you don't want to hit. For whatever reason on the inside, depending on the car and the suspension, the car will handle the first sausage curb okay, but the long slender one is a problem. But this one that's kind of just more fat. This one right here, you can kind of go right over that, but this one you do not want to hit, but you can get as close to that as possible. All right, we're easing onto the throttle. We're going to get to 4th gear here, and then we're going to hit the brake around 50-60 meters. So there's our braking. We're turning in, and we're turning in 3rd gear. Now again, the other thing that I want to show you again is look at the throttle. Look how low the throttle is. We're really easy on the throttle. Really easy on the throttle. We've got a lot of turn on the wheel. Let's come into it one more time. That's turn 3, that's turn 4. Full throttle to 4th gear. And then brake at the 60. And you can see that we're really letting the car carry itself through here and easing onto the throttle. That's Lesmo 1, now we're going to Lesmo 2. Now, heading into Lesmo 2, this is slow motion because it's just all so fast. Heading to Lesmo 2, you can get to fourth gear, and then you're going to brake right around, I think right around 60, 75 meters. 75 meters, I think, is where you're about to brake. So you watch right here, we have the 100-meter board. I don't know, maybe it's like 70, 60 meters, something like that. And then you take as much of this curb as you can. So if we come back just a little bit, we're going to back out to this view again. You can take, this is Lesmo 1, but going through Lesmo 2, you can get as close to this line as possible through Lesmo 1, get all the way out to the green. You can even get wider than that. You can get onto the green space to your left. And then as we approach this, you can see that we're braking around 75. You can take as much as this green curb as you like on the inside, and then as much as the green on the outside. On this track, you can get over to that white line all the way over with your right wheel being on the white line. The fastest time is going to be right on the inside of this turn, so you sort of follow the inside curve of that turn, and then on the straight, you slowly ease your way back out again. If you go on the outside, you have to turn a little bit sharper. It's not much, but if you're going for the fastest time, this is what you want to think about. And then going into Ascari, we are going to be braking right at the 200. So let's go back to full speed here. So there's the 300, here's the 200, and then we brake. Just quickly off the brake. Great. So we're trying not to let the tires lock up. And then here, you're taking as much as this curb as you can muster. We'll turn in right after the 50. You can see here we go. We're going to brake. There's 100. There's 50. Turning in right after the 50 in second gear. Take as much as that curb as you possibly can. And then on this one here, you want your tire to be on this white line, but not on this curb. This curb dips down, and when it dips down, it really throws off the balance of the car, and it will whip you into the sidewall here rather than carry you through, because the car kind of gets hung up on it and is not able to rotate to make this next corner. So what you want to do is get your wheel right on the white line, but don't dip it in. You're going to see how close we get to this here. So as we come into it, look how close we get, and it allows us to shift the car over for the exit. So we'll go back and we're going to go that one more time because this one is pretty important. You can lose an enormous amount of time or gain time on this corner when you do it right. All right, so again, going through the turn, look how much we eat out there of the turn, of the curb, right on the white line. Look at that wheel. It's not in it, it's just right over it. And then this one, as much as that turn as possible, as much as the curb as possible. And if we back out again, you can see from this angle just how much he gets. He is absolutely perfect coming through this. Full throttle on the exit. Again, nice and easy on the throttle. Easy on the brakes, easy on the steering, easy on the throttle, all the way through. Full tilt, and then we're back at Parabolica. So when we get back to Parabolica, we are going to be at 150 meters, third gear, 150, third gear. You're going to turn in after this white line here that you cross. Turn in. Try not to use the brakes afterwards. If you can, you'll be faster. And really easy on the throttle coming out. So now let's watch the whole hot lap again from the very beginning. Here is the entrance into Parabolica going into the final hot lap, and I will just let you watch. So with that lap time, we ended up on a 148.188, so 148.2. And just for reference, that is just as fast as some of the faster racers around Monza in the stock Assetto GT3 cars, like the BMW Z4 or the Ferrari, for example. So this is a really fast car. It's pretty slow in the corners. It's slow braking, but it's very, very fast on the straights, which is where you get all that additional time. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, definitely shoot us an email or give us a call. I'd be happy to walk you through being more prepared for the lap time challenge. Otherwise, we will see you soon.